We will be live for the Cowboys-Panthers game on Sunday. Not a nationwide broadcast. It's still the #1 Fox game, so you might have to do it with Greg Olsen, or you can just watch our watch party. Instead, tune in. We'll be live for the entirety of the game and be live an hour and a half before kickoff as well. Post-game show. Have some fun right here on the Cowboys Report. So sub so you don't miss out. Week 11's matchup. The Cowboys, as of now, this has been moving a little bit. I've seen it down to 10.5, 10, but now up at 11. The Cowboys are heavy road favorites against Carolina. The over-under set at 42.5. This should be a football game in which Dallas wins. However, there is the possibility of this being a trap game because Carolina's a mess. They are a desperate mess overall, especially on offense. The Cowboys injury report, this is as of Thursday. I expect no changes on Fridays. If I'm dumb, then we'll have a short to update it. Everyone's healthy. Tyron Smith also did not practice on Thursday. That was because of rest. That's what that was for. That is expected, and that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned moving forward. Everyone else on the injury report was a full participant. Rico Dowdle, Junior Fayoko, Jordan Lewis, Owa Odighizuwa, Jalen Tolbert, Kavante Turpin now working his way back. Of note on the Panthers side of things, Bryce Young has a thigh issue. Sounds minor, should play, but is worth mentioning. Brian Burns, more on him in a little bit, he will play. J.C. Horn, we'll see. C.J. Henderson, and Hayden Hurst also kind of up in the air. Horn's trying to go, but he's not fully back yet. Henderson went from limited to a DNP on Thursday. That's a huge red flag for him. Hayden Hurst probably won't go. He is in concussion protocol. Let's talk the top 5 matchups in this one. Number 1 is Dan Quinn against Frank Reich. After the bye, or entering the bye, the Panthers, Frank Reich, gave the play calling over to offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. After 3 games, Frank Reich says, nope, I'm taking it back, which is a really bad sign when your first-year head coach has ceded and taken back play calling in a span of 3 games. That's really bad. In many, many ways, this Panthers team, as currently constructed, is an extreme version of all the things I have hated about the Cowboys in recent years. You've got an even more meddling owner who demanded a 3-4 scheme be run because that's what he ran when he was a minority owner in Pittsburgh. He has allegedly influenced the quarterback selection by the Panthers. Allegedly has influenced who's calling the plays on offense for the Panthers. Their offense also is a mess. They don't use any motion. For as much as I've heard about the Cowboys motion, even before they ramped it up, Panthers running less. It is one of the most static offenses in the NFL. I despise with a passion. It is a real issue, and it's really hurting Bryce Young. It's quickly becoming a 101 path to, hey, how do you ruin a rookie QB? So who you got in this football game? C for the Cowboys, P for the Panthers. It's the pinned comment on today's video. If that ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. C for the Cowboys, P for the Panthers. Top matchups then. Number 2, the Cowboys defense against 11 personnel. Here are the teams that have run the most 11 personnel in the NFL. The Rams at 92.4%. The Panthers are second at 89.9%. They live out of 11 personnel. It's all they're going to really run against the Cowboys based on historical trends. The good news, Dallas is 4th in EPA per play against 11 personnel. So you've got the most common usage is one of the ones the Cowboys are best at. That bodes very well because they can use their big nickel if they think it's a run, if it's more of a run setup, and they can just trot out their top 3 corners with ease. Number 3 matchup, Terence Steele against Brian Burns. I do think you'll see some Brian Burns. He's listed as, they'll be on the injury report, but he's been afforded, should be good to go here. Terence Steele, way better against the Giants. From 4 sacks, 1 hit, and 7 hurries to 0, 0, and 2. Massive growth that is reflected in the pass blocking grade. Did not grade out very well against the run. That's okay. Again, the run grades are kind of iffy. but it was clearly an upgrade in the most important area, the passing game. Brian Burns, meanwhile, has been a little bit limited at points so far this season, but he has 5 sacks still, 9 TFLs. You can double those numbers, and we're trending towards a double-digit sack season for Burns, who he brings the speed and the ability. I am very excited to see that matchup because if Steele plays well, that'd be 2 games in a row, including Kayvon Thibodeau, that he stepped up against a pretty quality opponent, at least individual opponent. Now, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. I love it because it's just you against the numbers. You're picking more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And you get 2 out of 3 right, hit the flex play, get all 3, go for the power play. You're going to come out on top. You can also mix and match NFL, NBA, NFL, college football as well. I love it. It's easy, and I'm also on a heater. 5 straight weeks at least hitting the flex play. With that in mind, here are my picks this week. CJ Stroud, more than passing yards. He's playing lights out, by the way. Sam Howell, more than passing yards. Did we watch that Giants secondary? He might throw for 300 in that game. And more than CeeDee Lamb receiving yards, because if he's in the slot, he gets Troy Hill. Yeah, love that matchup for Lamb. Even on the outside, Dante Jackson can't hang with him. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. But again, folks, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Matchup number 4, the Cowboys offensive line against the Panthers defensive line. In particular, can you run the football? Carolina has one of the worst run defenses in the NFL based on EPA per play. Cowboys offense has not been good enough on the ground. So how can Tyron Smith, Tyler Smith, Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, and Terence Steele hold up against a group that kind of only goes to maybe 2.5 deep in that front 5. They run a 3-4 front. We'll see how much of it they get, or if they kind of go with more of a 4-man nickel package like most teams tend to do. But the way I view this is Brian Burns, really, really good football player. And then linebacker Frankie Luvo is also good. Derek Brown is a stud. He is an awesome football player that I've loved for a long time. But beyond him, it's Shy Tuttle, it's Deshaun Williams, it's Nick Thurman's been terrible one out there, DJ Jones, Amari Barno. Barno's basically just an edge. He can't really hold up against the run very well. It's not a great group. Outside of Brown in particular, your offensive line should have some success. Matchup number 5, just like last week, folks, it is the Cowboys against themselves. The Panthers are a mess. The head coach is taking back over play calling. Ownership is maybe meddling. There's some hot seat feels going on right now in that organization, but they are a desperate mess. And never underestimate the desperate team theory. If the Panthers get their asses kicked, there's a non-zero chance they fire Frank Reich on Monday. Seriously. So they're kind of coaching for their jobs here. I am putting this as a trap game alert. You're on the road. You have a short week against the Commanders after this. This does stand out much like the Texans last year. Not a great team, fighting for some jobs, trap game. Do you agree with me? Is this a trap game? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comments section right now. Some players to watch. Kevontae Turpin sounds like he will be back. And can he take his turn getting involved at wide receiver? We've seen Gallup at times, Cooks got going, even Jalen Brooks some. Turpin only has 14 touches this year. The reason why I put him on here is twofold. A, are you going to scheme for him this week? Give him some chances there. And also this part. Carolina will give you return chances. They absolutely will. I would not be that shocked if Turpin busted a big return, whether it's on kicks or punt returns, since he should be back on those duties this week. Number 4 is Jake Ferguson. I don't mind Frankie Luvo. One of the Panthers' best graded players, by the way, is Cowboys legend Xavier Woods. I wouldn't be surprised if Dak relied on Ferguson again. The Panthers' pass defense actually pretty decent, all things considered. I think Ejiro is a fantastic defensive coordinator. Ferguson is the safety blanket right now for this team, as he should be. The yards per catch are not that great, but they've been pretty good. 4 touchdowns as well. He's been reliable. He's clearly better than the Schoonmaker Hendershot duo out there. He's the safety blanket. I kind of like his more than catches and yards quite a bit. Number 3, revenge game alert for Stephon Gilmore. Yeah, remember when he played for the Panthers? He's probably due for an INT. I would not be shocked if he could, the savvy veteran, if he can bait Bryce Young into a bad throw. Speaking of Stephon Gilmore, our Cowboys-Panthers watch party giveaway this week is a signed Stephon Gilmore mini helmet. That will be our big giveaway item for that game. So make sure you are subscribed so you have a chance to win it this week. Player to watch number 2, how about Rico Dowdle? I am curious if he gets some more run. I think he should. He had a great game against the Giants because of a small sample size overall this year. Now averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Went from 4 to 4.5 in one game. The benefits of having under 50 carries on the year. At minimum, the Cowboys have to get Dowdle involved more. It doesn't make sense to not feature him with the way he's looked. It's not even anti-Pollard necessarily. It's just that Dowdle's playing well. Why wouldn't you give him the ball at least a little bit more? Who should be RB1 this week? TP for Tony Pollard, RD for Rico Dowdle. Sound off in the comment section right now. Number 1 player to watch, he's been on here a little bit, and every time I put him on here, he's not performed well. And it's Owa Odighizuwa. And I have done this graphic before for Dorrance Armstrong, and he then played better. So we're going to do it again. And now this is very much a cherry-picked sample size, to be clear, so keep that in mind. But first 6 games, the last 3 games. Not quite double the snaps, but close to it. The numbers have fallen off a cliff for Owa Odighizuwa. You can double them. You can double these numbers, and it's still not nearly as good. From 18 pressures to 4. From 21 tackles to 7. From 5 TFLs to 1. From 3 sacks to 0. Instead of having those numbers be cut in roughly half, they've been cut by at least a third, if not a quarter or more. That is a sizable difference for Owa Odighizuwa. The Panthers' interior offensive line, to put this delicately, is really not that good. You know, they have Bradley Bozeman. They just cut Calvin Throckmorton, so it's going to be Chandler Zavala, and they'll try to get some other pieces involved, but this is not a good unit up front. I assume it's going to be Austin Corbett. Ike Ekwonu has not played that well this year. He's kind of taking a step back. Taylor Motton's good at right tackle at least. Osa could thrive against the Panthers front or Panthers offensive line in this one.